Look, you aren't losing your mind. You're just outgrowing the life you used to fit into. Big changes don't start with a trophy or a party. They usually start with you feeling completely out of place in your own world. If everything feels off lately, it isn't a breakdown, it's an upgrade. Your old self is hitting a dead end because the person you're becoming needs more room to breathe. If you feel like you're losing your grip, pay attention. These are the 5 signs your rise is actually starting. The first sign is that your social mask is cracking. You're starting to feel like a complete fake when you're out with your old friends. You're sitting at a table, everyone is laughing, and people are talking about the same tired drama they've been talking about for 3 years. Usually, you'd join in. Usually, you'd have a story to tell or a joke to crack. But suddenly, you feel a million miles away. You're looking at these people you've known forever, and you realize you don't even know why you're there. You realize you've been wearing a persona. Carl Jung talked about this a lot. It's that fake face you put on to fit in, to be liked, and to keep everyone else around you comfortable. It's the version of you that says, "I'm fine," when you're not, or "that's crazy," when you aren't even listening. The problem is that you're still nodding along to jokes that aren't actually funny. You're still acting like you care about things that don't matter to you at all. Maybe it's celebrity gossip, maybe it's complaining about a job you don't even have, or maybe it's just talking trash about people who aren't in the room. Doing this used to be easy, but now it's draining your battery. You leave these hangouts feeling exhausted, like you just worked a 12-hour shift. Your soul is tired because it's spent the whole night pretending to be smaller than it actually is. You feel like a fraud because you're playing a character in a movie you didn't even write. You might be in a situation right now where a friend asks for your opinion on some drama, and your gut tells you to say, "I don't care." But your mask makes you say, "Wow, that's messed up." That split second of hesitation is the mask cracking. To get out of this, you have to stop performing. You have to be okay with being the boring one or the quiet one for a minute. If the conversation is shallow, just let the silence sit there. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to give a speech about how much you've changed. You just have to stop being an actor. When you stop feeding the fake version of yourself, something scary happens. The people who only liked the costume will start to leave. They'll say you've changed or that you're no fun lately. Let them. That is the price of admission for your new life. You are clearing the clutter. By dropping the act, you save all that wasted energy. You finally have the focus you need to build something real. You aren't losing friends, you're losing anchors. Once those anchors are gone, you're finally free to rise. The second sign is that your shadow is talking back. Things you used to be able to ignore or push deep down are suddenly screaming for your attention. You might be going about your day, everything seems fine, and then out of nowhere you feel a flash of unjustified anger because someone cut you in line or a coworker took credit for a small idea. Or maybe you're scrolling through social media and you feel a deep, bitter sting of jealousy because someone else got the win you wanted. Most people run from these feelings. They feel guilty. They tell themselves they're being a bad person, and they try to shove those feelings back into the basement. But that basement is what Carl Jung called the shadow. It's the part of you that holds everything you were told was too much or too dark when you were a kid. The problem is that you've spent your whole life trying to be nice or polite, and now that basement is full. It's starting to leak. You might find yourself snapping at your partner over a tiny mistake, like leaving a dish in the sink, and then 5 minutes later you feel like a monster. You think, "That wasn't me. Why did I do that?" The truth is, it was you. It was the part of you that's tired of being stepped on. It's the part of you that has all the power. But because you're scared of it, you've let it turn into a ghost that haunts you, instead of a tool that serves you. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone talks over you. Your shadow wants to roar, but your polite self just smiles and stays quiet. Later that night, you're irritable, you can't sleep, and you're mean to the people you actually love. That's the shadow talking back because it didn't get to speak when it needed to. To get out of this cycle, you have to stop judging these dark feelings. Instead of drowning in guilt and calling yourself names, you need to look at that monster in the eye. You have to realize that this dark energy is actually the fuel you've been missing. That ruthlessness you feel when you're angry, that's actually the backbone you need to finally say no to people who take advantage of you. That envy you feel when someone else succeeds, that's just your potential showing you what you're actually capable of doing. You stop the cycle by acknowledging the impulse the second it happens. Instead of taking that heat and blowing it up at your family or your friends, you direct it into your work. You use that aggression to hit your goals and protect your time like a hawk. When you stop fighting your shadow and start using it, you become a complete person. You aren't just a nice person anymore. You're a powerful person who chooses to be kind, but who isn't afraid to be dangerous when it's time to win. Integrating your shadow is like finally getting the keys to your own engine. It's loud, it's intense, and it might scare people who are used to the quiet version of you. But it's the only way you're going to handle the weight of the success that's coming your way. The third sign is that the silence in your life is getting louder. Suddenly, your phone is quiet. Your DMs aren't blowing up like they used to, and your Friday nights are starting to look a lot different. It's not because you've become a loser or because nobody likes you anymore. It's because your vibe has shifted so much that the old noise can't find you. Carl Jung called this process individuation. It's a fancy word for a simple thing. You are finally becoming your own person. You are no longer just a part of the crowd, nodding along and doing what everyone else does just to feel normal. You're pulling away from the herd, and that transition is incredibly quiet. The problem is that this silence feels heavy. It feels like rejection. You might be sitting on your couch, staring at a blank screen, and the temptation to crawl back to your old group is overwhelming. You want to text that ex or go to that party you know will be boring, just so you don't have to be alone with your own head. You're used to the static of other people's opinions, and without it, you feel exposed. You feel like the world moved on and left you behind in a dark room. Most people can't handle this stage. They get scared of the quiet, and they run back to the noise, even if the noise is toxic, just because it's familiar. You might be in a situation right now where you see your old friends posting pictures of a night out, and you weren't invited. Your first instinct is to feel hurt, to wonder what you did wrong, or to try and fix things so you can get back in the loop. That hurt is just your ego wanting to be part of the pack. To get out of this trap, you have to change how you look at the quiet. You have to realize that this isn't loneliness, it's solitude. There is a massive difference. Loneliness is a hole you're trying to fill. Solitude is a fortress you're building. The silence is actually a gift because it's a controlled environment. For the first time in your life, you can finally hear your own gut feeling without 5 different people telling you what they think you should do. You solve the isolation by leaning into it instead of fighting it. Use that vacuum. When the phone stops ringing, that's your signal to start working. That's your time to read the books, build the skills, and plan the moves that the old you never had the focus for. When you stop chasing people just to fill the silence, you start attracting the right people. The ones who meet you in the silence are the ones who are actually on your level. By staying in the wilderness for a while, you're training yourself to be self-sufficient. You're becoming a singular unit that doesn't need a crowd to feel powerful. Once you master being alone, you become unstoppable, because you can no longer be controlled by the fear of being left out. The silence isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that you're finally winning the war for your own mind. The fourth sign is that you're losing your cool over the small things in your everyday life. You find yourself getting hit with a wave of pure annoyance at stuff that never used to bother you. It's the slow car in the fast lane, the repetitive chores like doing the dishes, or that coworker who wants to spend 20 minutes talking about their weekend at the water cooler. It's not that you're becoming a mean person or an elitist who thinks they're better than everyone else. It's actually much simpler. Your soul is getting too big for the box it's currently sitting in. You feel like a giant trying to live in a dollhouse, and every time you try to move, you hit your head on the ceiling. You're outgrowing your skin, and that stretching process hurts. The problem is that you're still trying to play along. You're trying to act like the normal routine is enough for you when your gut is screaming that there's something much bigger waiting. You feel like a cage door has been locked, and you're starting to rattle the bars. Most people handle this by getting bitter. They start snapping at their family, they get road rage, or they just walk around with a permanent scowl because they feel trapped. They think the world is annoying, but the truth is they're just bored with being small. They're tired of the same old, because they know they were built for a greater life. You might be in a situation right now where you're sitting at your desk or standing in line at the store, and you feel this itch to just blow everything up. You want to quit your job on the spot, or you want to tell a random stranger to shut up because their small talk feels like sandpaper on your brain. That irritation is a compass. It is pointing exactly at the parts of your life where you are playing it too safe. It's telling you that the comfortable life you built is now a prison. Jung believed that if we don't move toward our potential, it turns into a poison that rots us from the inside out. That's what that irritation is. It's the poison of a life unlived. To get out of this frustration, you have to stop seeing yourself as a victim of your schedule. You have to realize that your anger is actually a demand for more responsibility and more challenge. You solve this by shifting your daily habits to match the person you're becoming. If your 9 to 5 feels like a cage, don't just complain about it. Start building the bridge to the next thing in your spare hours. Use that fed-up energy to fuel your late-night study sessions or your early morning workouts. Move toward the friction instead of just crying about it. When you start taking big, scary steps toward a real goal, the small things stop annoying you. The traffic doesn't matter as much when you're thinking about your empire. The chores don't feel like a weight when you know they're just the maintenance for a high-performance life. You stop being a grumpy person, and you start being a focused person. The irritation disappears because you've finally given that giant inside you something heavy to lift. Your rise is near because you've finally stopped settling for the crumbs of a small life and started reaching for the whole damn meal. The fifth sign is that the world is starting to send you signals that you can't explain away anymore. You think of a specific problem you've been losing sleep over, and 5 minutes later, you see the exact answer on a random billboard or hear it in the lyrics of a song playing in a coffee shop. You haven't spoken to a certain person in years. Their name pops into your head, and then your phone buzzes with a text from them. Carl Jung had a name for this: synchronicity. It's not just a weird coincidence. It's a sign that your internal world and the external world are finally starting to line up. It's like the universe is giving you a thumbs up and telling you that you're finally on the right track. The problem is that most people see these signs and then they do absolutely nothing with them. They say, "Wow, that's crazy," and then they go back to scrolling on their phone or worrying about their bills. They treat these moments like a magic trick instead of a set of instructions. They stay frozen in fear, waiting for a bigger sign or a lightning bolt to strike them before they make a move. If you keep ignoring the signals, eventually they're going to stop. You'll go back to living in a world that feels cold, random, and meaningless because you refused to play the game when the door was open. You might be in a situation right now where you keep seeing the same number, the same book title, or the same business idea everywhere you go. You feel a pull toward a specific path, but your logical brain tells you it's just a fluke. You're overthinking it, trying to find a rational reason for why these things are happening instead of just trusting your gut. To get out of this overthinking trap, you have to start acting on these hunches immediately. If a name pops into your head, send that text. If a book keeps appearing in your feed, buy it and read the first chapter. If you get a random urge to take a different route home, do it. You solve the mystery of your future by realizing that these coincidences are actually a map. When you start following the breadcrumbs, the path to your rise stops being a guessing game and starts being a guided tour. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to trust the signal that's telling you where the next step is. Jung believed that when we live in harmony with our deep selves, the world starts to cooperate with us. By paying attention to these signals, you're telling the universe that you're ready to lead. You're showing that you aren't just a passenger in your own life anymore. The more you act on these lucky moments, the more they will happen. Your rise isn't a destination you're driving toward in the dark. It's a reality that's already being built around you, one meaningful coincidence at a time. The world isn't just happening to you anymore. It's happening with you. We've talked about the 5 signs, but sometimes the world will try to break you before it builds you. As you start to rise, you're going to hit a wall of resistance that feels personal. It's not just bad luck. It's the gravity of your old life trying to pull you back down. When you decide to be great, you're unintentionally holding up a mirror to everyone around you who gave up on their own dreams. Your progress makes them feel small, and their natural reaction isn't to cheer you on, it's to trip you so they don't have to look at how much they're settling. You're going to face a specific kind of hating that comes disguised as concern or advice. This is the part where most people fold. They think the universe is telling them to stop, but it's actually a test to see if you're strong enough to hold the weight of the power you're asking for. The problem is that this resistance often comes from the people you love most. It's a jealous mirror. You tell your family about a big idea, and they immediately list 10 reasons why it'll fail. You tell a friend about your new habits, and they mock you or try to tempt you back into the old lazy routines. They'll say things like, "Don't get your hopes too high," or "Remember where you came from." They think they're being realistic, but they're actually just terrified of losing the version of you that made them feel comfortable. You might feel a massive weight of guilt, like you're betraying your tribe by wanting more. You start to doubt yourself, wondering if they're right and if you're just being delusional. Imagine you're finally making moves. Maybe you're starting a business, or you're getting in the best shape of your life. Suddenly, an old friend pops up just to remind you of a mistake you made 5 years ago. Or a family member brings up your past failures right when you're about to hit a milestone. This isn't a coincidence. It's a direct hit to your confidence. To get out of this, you have to realize that their advice is actually their own fear talking. You have to stop looking for validation from people who are still living in the basement. You wouldn't ask a person who's never left their hometown for directions to a place they've never been. So why are you letting people who aren't where you want to be tell you how to get there? You solve this by becoming a ghost to the opinions of others. Carl Jung talked about the collective shadow, the way a group will try to crush an individual who starts to stand out too much. To survive this, you have to stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to fix their perspective or convince them that you're doing the right thing. Every time you explain yourself, you're leaking the energy you need for your work. Silence is your best weapon here. When they doubt you, don't argue. Just win. Let your results be the only statement you make. You might also face internal sabotage. This is when the voice inside your own head starts echoing the haters. You'll have days where you feel like a total fraud, where the path looks too long and the cost looks too high. You'll feel a shadow urge to go back to being normal, just so the pressure stops. When this happens, realize that the pressure is the point. You are being forged. A sword isn't made by sitting in a cold room. It's made by being hit repeatedly while it's in the fire. Once you push through this final wall of resistance, the people who tried to pull you down will either disappear or they'll start telling everyone how they always knew you'd make it. Don't be fooled by either. Keep your eyes on the goal. The road to greatness isn't a walk in the park. It's a battlefield. But the only way to lose is to surrender. Stay in the fight. Stay silent about your moves, and let the noise of your success be the only thing they hear. If you're feeling that shift and you're ready to stop playing small, drop a comment below with the word "unstoppable." if you're committing to your path right now. Hit that like button so the algorithm knows you're ready for the rise. Subscribe to the channel if you're tired of the noise and you want more of this street-level truth to help you stay focused. Don't let the silence or the haters slow you down. Keep building.